Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meet and Greet BBQ podcast. Owen and I are so pleased to say that we have Alfie on with us today. So this is Alfiekbbqs on Instagram. Alfie is 12 and taking over the barbecue community by storm. He has such an amazing home setup that I know Owen and myself are really jealous about. And he is not afraid to tackle all different types of cooks. And it's fantastic to talk to someone who is so passionate and skilled and quite frankly young, who can teach us something. So without much further ado, here's Alfie. So yeah, Alfie, thanks so much for coming on. You are our first guest in series 2. So thank you for agreeing to do this. And I, for one, have been a fan of your Instagram account for a little while, having a sneaky look. So for anyone who doesn't know about yourself, do you want to talk about your account and what you do on there?
So my account, it was started just over a year ago now, and I've always cooked with my mum, but I decided to go ahead and cook along with my dad on the barbecue, as we all loved the food, and so I thought that I'd try a different technique of cooking. I've been cooking for just over a year now, and ever since I've started, I've loved it more and more and have learned to cook more and more different things.
So with that kind of year of cooking, how much have you felt you've developed over the last year, and what techniques have you learned that you just weren't aware of previously?
So at the start of my journey, I was cooking things like chicken skewers and hot dogs and occasionally burgers. But we don't really have that much stuff like that, as my dad, we have the equipment to do basically anything. So one technique that I had no clue about was doing smash burgers.
Oh yeah.
And now that I've learned to do them, they're one of my favorite things to cook.
Yeah, I don't know what it is that makes them taste so different, but the technique of doing them is so much more enjoyable from a cooking point of view. I mean, I've absolutely loved doing them myself since I've got my plancha. I know it's something that Owen's kind of only recently started doing as well. How have you found that, Owen?
I've only done them a couple of times, but they taste very good. What would you say is your favourite smash burger that you've made so far, Alfie?
It could be the Homer burger I did.
Right, talk us through that. That sounds good.
So I'm not going to claim it as my own, as me and my dad did find it online. But we made it our own a bit. So what we did was we had a smash burger, 2 smash burgers. We had bacon, and I had made some homemade bacon jam. And then instead of a normal burger bun, I had a donut.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Just like a simple glazed one. And did you like, I've always thought about using like donuts for a bun. Did you like cut them in half and like sear them on the grill or anything? Or did you just have them as they were?
So what I did was I cut it in half, but I didn't sear it or anything. I left it as it is. So it was nice and soft for it.
That sounds great. One of the things that I've seen you do recently, which I loved because I love doing them myself, was the Jacob's ladder that you did for your dad's birthday. How did that go down? Because it sounded as if it flew off and you didn't get a chance to have any, like, loads of photos of it.
So what happened was we put it in fairly early in the morning after me and my dad had gone to the butcher's to get them. And so not long after that, they had, normally when we smoke something, we just leave it in there because they're saying looking isn't cooking.
Yeah.
And so the next time we checked, the actual meat had made all the fat tents and it had risen in size.
Right.
So it got 2 or 3 times bigger the size.
Right.
Wow.
Did you get all the shrinkage up the bone? Is that what caused it, or was it just something you weren't expecting
Yeah.
at all?
It had shrunk on the bone, but had risen in size as well.
Mm-hmm. You
Does it taste good?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You talked about that. How does it actually? How was it eating that compared to some of the other cooks you've done?
It was a bit harder to be able to actually eat it with the size of it. But we used a Rusty Barbecue Co. rub, the Black Angus coffee rub.
Nice.
And so it tasted really nice going along with the beef.
And so you've got quite a lot of experience now cooking, and I'm assuming using different woods and things. Do you have a favorite wood? And if so, what do you tend to go for and why?
There's not necessarily a favorite wood. Normally we grab a couple of different bags of wood and we use whatever goes best with that meat. So occasionally we use things like cherry and apple, because that goes well with most things. And it adds good flavor to the food, I think.
Have you found over the last year, Alfie, do you have a preference on kind of like hot and fast traditional cooking, or do you prefer the more low and slow American style cooking? Do you have a favorite?
So with me, it depends what barbecue I use. So for my go anywhere, it would be hot and fast. I've only done one low and slow cook on there. And then my Weber Master Touch, that would probably be more low and slow. But my Komodo Joe, that would have to be either hot fast or more slow cooking. But I haven't done too many cooks on there, so I'm still not 100% sure.
It really is about learning with all the different equipment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't I see that the Komodo Joe's a recent addition to your lineup? Was it within the last few weeks or so?
I've had it nearly, I'd say, 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Not long at all. How many cooks have you managed to do in that time on it?
Probably between 5 and 10.
Wow. Okay. I'm jealous
that
you found the time to do that. I've got a Kamado from Monolith, hopefully turning up in the next week and a half. I say that because it's already been delayed by a month, which has been so upsetting. And I've heard it takes a while to get used to them, because although you could do so much with them, they hold the heat so well, that temperature control initially can be an issue. How have you found that?
So with me, I'm used to controlling the temp on a lot of different barbecues. So what I have to do is get it as hot as I can, and then I just slowly turn down the vents, as I normally light it at least half an hour before I actually cook, so that I do have time to be able to play around with the temperature. But the hardest thing I find with it is actually lighting it.
Oh, right.
As you're not able to light it in a chimney starter, and you have to light it inside the barbecue, which I've never had to do before. So I'm still getting used to putting the fire lighters into the right place.
Right, yeah. It's things like this that I'm going to learn myself. Is there any kind of techniques to that you found make things easier?
So what I do is I normally put one fire lighter next to a big group of coals, and then I use another one further to the side underneath a load of coals, so that lights, and then the heat spreads throughout the whole grill.
And
do you have a preference of charcoal that you use with your different
So at the
barbecues?
I got given this barbecue from Barbecues to You.
Wow.
And so they
Wow.
sent me along a bag of charcoal with them. So I don't use any other charcoal except that while I've got that charcoal. And I don't use charcoal on any other barbecue. And it is only for the Komodo. So, because from what I found, that charcoal is really good for the Komodo.
Mm-hmm. I need to experiment more with different type of charcoals. I'm very guilty, as I think a lot of people are, of picking up charcoal when they're on offer or when I spot it. So, I mean, like I've had a lot of Big K. I'm currently trying some Grill Baltic stuff, but there's so much out there and so many different types. I mean, I definitely have a preference towards lumpwood, unless I'm doing something very low and slow. But then having a Kamado will probably change that for me, because my current kettle is quite, should we say, leaky with temperature, so it's that much harder to kind of keep it going for that amount of time. You talked and mentioned a few of the barbecues. Do you mind running through the whole setup for us?
So I've got me and my dad have nearly 10 barbecues altogether.
Wow. Oh, and he's trumped you.
We use them for all different things. So we have a hibachi grill. We have Dad's Bristol drum smoker. He has a Dancook smoker, not smoker. A Dancook hot grilling,
Mm-hmm.
which is also used for rotisserie. Then we have my Weber selection, which is my Master Touch and my Go Anywhere. And not that long ago, it did consist of a 47, but I gave that away to one of my neighbours.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the Komodo Joe. We have a barbecue, which is an Uni Flame, which is 72 inch.
Wow.
Wow, that's big.
We have a pizza oven. And I think that's about it.
So where do you fit it all in your garden? I'm jealous. I've got 5 and I thought I was doing well.
So with my garden, we do have it quite small, but we have them basically right next to each other. So what we have is we have the Bristol drum smoker in one corner. Then next to that, in the middle of the wall, we have my 57. Mm-hmm. Then in the next corner, we have a table, which has my Komodo Joe and the pizza oven on. Then next to the table, we have a bit of a gap so we can store some of the stuff for our barbecues. Then we have the 72 Uni Flame. Then we've got a table out there, which we have my Go Anywhere on. And then, as we don't use my dad's Dancook much, we have that up right next to the house so that it's out the way while we don't have the shack up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm so jealous of that. I think my wife would very much be angry at me if I had that sort of setup. But then, if I'm cooking every single day, I'm sure that she'd be a little bit more relaxed about that situation.
Well, I'm moving house just so I can fit more barbecues in. So that's it. That's the length that I'm going to, just to get some more equipment. So what's next on the list for you, Alfie? Is there any more barbecues that you want to try or?
Well, I've got quite a good selection, and I haven't looked at many other barbecues much, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to have next. Because my dream barbecue since I started was a Komodo Joe, but of course now I've got that, I don't know what else I'm going to get.
On the 20th to the 22nd of August, the UK's largest barbecue festival will be hitting Colchester for 3 days of all things grilling, music and family fun. And if that wasn't enough, the British Barbecue Open Championships will be held there, where teams will compete in numerous rounds of barbecue classics, for the panel of judges to crown the best British barbecue team.
To find out more and get your tickets, visit smokeandfirefestival.com/tickets. We can't wait to see you there.
Yeah, I was looking at getting an import over from America, a Yoda Wichita, which is a massive offset smoker. I think I've changed my mind, and I'm actually I'm quite interested in a Savage Barbecue fire cage, and trying those. I want to get more onto the live fire cooking. So yeah, that I think that's the next thing on my list. Big fire cage.
Very much a different game. Have you done any sort of live fire cooking like that, Alfie, or had any experience with it?
So what we've done is we've used one of the barbecues, and we bought some wood specially to cook on, so we could do some BBQ brewers,
Wow.
which is South African. And over in South Africa, they have a braai. So we were trying to replicate one of them on a simple barbecue.
How did that
How
go?
did that go?
How did it look as well?
So it went really well with the way we had it set up. So we had the fire in the middle of the barbecue, and so we had enough space for the sausages around the edge, so that they're not always over the coals, so that we can put them to the side if we need to let the fire cool down a little bit. So I think we used my Weber 47 for it, so that we had plenty of room and the sausages would still get a nice cook. And it went a lot better than I thought it would be.
What was the taste difference like cooking like that compared to, say, some of the normal grilling you do?
So for me, I didn't really taste much of a difference, because especially from BBQ, the brewers, the food doesn't last long. Because I love my food, so it's not on the plate for very long.
Yeah.
I'll second that. It's hard to run a social media account. I'm sure you're the same, Alfie, where you're so hungry, you just want to eat the food, but you're trying to take good pictures at the same time.
Yeah, quite a lot. My parents have to remind me to be able to save some so that we can take a picture.
So,
Absolutely.
with so many barbecues and the experience that you've currently got with kind of cooking, how do you find inspiration to try different things? Where is it you look and what interests you?
So quite a lot. We have quite a few cookbooks, so I regularly look through there. Or I watch Country Wood Smoke and look through his books and his Instagram to see what he's been cooking, and take some inspiration from that. And just recently, I started doing food at school.
Right.
So I have
great.
Recently I made a flapjack. So I've took inspiration from that, and I'll be trying a flapjack on the barbecue soon.
I was just thinking, with kind of, you talked about just starting cooking at school and your age. If you're managing to cook as often as you are, the amount of kind of cooking hours you must have under your belt is mad. Like, what has been the most exciting thing that you've done, that when you were cooking it and you were learning, you thought, right, I've got this now. This is for me?
I think that would be either the smash burgers or something like my signature hot dog, which is called the Fee Dog.
Talk us through that.
Nice.
So this is a bratwurst sausage wrapped in bacon with black pudding and ketchup and mustard on top.
That sounds gorgeous.
Oh, that is really good.
One thing I'm guilty of is I don't do enough kind of different varieties and variations on hot dogs when I'm cooking, because I love bratties, but with a 4-year-old daughter, I've kind of had to slowly edge up on the different meats and things that I'm cooking, but that shouldn't stop me kind of buying more sausages for myself and having them at the same time. So I'll need to give that a try. Really do.
I'm the same with the thing about sausages and hot dogs.
Mm.
As we don't cook many hot dogs and sausages at home, we save that for more a beach cook.
Nice.
So normally when we have sausages or hot dogs, we either have some brewers or we go into some normal bratwurst and my feed dog.
So you mentioned obviously you've just started taking food, having food lessons at school. How long is it before you reckon that you'll be able to teach your teacher how to do some barbecue food?
So on the first lesson I had, we were learning about different ways to cook in the oven and on the hob. So I was sat there, and every time he mentioned something, I was speaking about how we do that on the barbecue and what equipment we'd use. So I think over time, a lot of my teachers have learned a lot of stuff, and so have my friends, just from me barbecuing and speaking to them about it.
Give it 2
was
years,
gonna
you'll
ask,
have
actually,
them. Yeah, you'll have them smoking in that classroom in 2 years' time.
Yeah, hopefully.
What about your friends, Alfie? Do a lot of your friends cook barbecue? Do they have the same interest as you, or are you kind of leading the way there?
So with me, none of my friends are into barbecuing, but they do a lot of cooking indoors.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So luckily, a lot of my friends do support me in the barbecue committee and do watch me when they can. But a lot of my friends don't understand it, as none of their families or they cook. So quite a lot when I'm mentioning what I'm cooking, I actually have to explain and describe what I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we like to find out from our guests, and you might have already answered this earlier on, but what would be your ultimate barbecue cook? If you could only have one barbecue meal ever again, what would it be?
I don't think I can choose a single thing. I think
Okay, we'll allow two.
I think it would be more like small dishes of a couple of different things.
Yeah.
And so it then creates one plate.
Or like a barbecue tapas.
Yeah.
That's a meal, right?
So I think on the top of it would be some ribs, some macaroni cheese, and either a burger or a hot dog.
Nice.
Good staple choices there.
I know that you do cook desserts and things on the barbecue as well. When it comes to desserts, what are your favourite things to cook?
So I haven't tried too many variations, but I have attempted a marble cake before.
Nice.
And that was actually for a school competition. As we were learning about fair trade. And so one of my teachers set a competition where we had to do a whole cook, but we had to use at least one fair trade item. So I went ahead and did a couple of things on the barbecue. So I did the marble cake, I did country wood smokes bread, and I did a gammon.
Nice.
And so the marble cake it hadn't turned out as I would have hoped, as you couldn't see where the actual marble was supposed to be. But when I had it, it was a lot nicer than I had expected for the colour.
Yeah.
Did you find it difficult with the sponge not to burn it? Were you using? I'm assuming you were using charcoal. So did you have to set it up as a 2-zone, or did you direct cook on it, or?
So I had to do it as a 2-zone, and keep it away from the coals. So I had to use my dad's 72 to keep it closer to the edge, whilst also cooking.
How long did it take? Because I'm guessing it takes a lot longer if you're doing it on the barbecue than like a traditional oven.
From what I could tell, it took between half an hour and 45 minutes. But I wasn't timing it, so that was a rough estimate.
Do you know, that's one thing that we keep saying to anyone listening to this who maybe is discovering barbecue is cook to temp. Always cook to temp, not necessarily cooking to time, because you can even have the same barbecue holding the same temp with the same type of meat and the same rubs. It never takes the same amount of time at all. Have you had any kind of issues that's made you learn that the hard way?
Not really, as we have many. Normally, if we do smoking, we use the meter. So we either have it set up on my phone or my dad's phone, so that way we can have the phone sat out there, and one of us can be off doing our own thing and still be able to check on it ourselves. Like, for example, once my dad had gone out and I had my phone set up on the meter, and he was all the way in Barnstable, and as my phone was connected, he could sit and watch the cook whilst in Barnstable. So we've never really had to learn the hard way about that, as I've also learned not to cook to time, thanks to the amount of videos I've watched on Marcus.
Yeah.
So one of the things we like to celebrate on the podcast is, obviously we all love some, to cook perfect cooks. However, we like to also celebrate the fails. So what a section that we like to do is barbecue fails, and we all have them. But we're interested to know, Alfie, in your process over the last year or so, what barbecue fails have you had? And just tell us about those fails. Celebrate them.
So I haven't exactly had a fail on the barbecue, as I've had my dad there to keep an eye on it and make sure that nothing goes wrong. But the one thing that has gone wrong is when me and my sister was bringing in the food from the barbecue to eat. As I had a load of food on a tray, and I had accidentally tripped. So about half the food had gone all over the floor, and we weren't able to eat it.
It's devastating. What I would say is, had it been raining or was it wet? Because if not, I would have still attacked all of that. That's just me, though.
It was very dry, but it had gone onto a load of mud.
Okay, right, fair enough. Right,
fair enough.
I wouldn't have gone near it yet. Then, well, I would have thought about it. Out the amount of time and effort.
I did think about picking it up and serving it without anyone knowing.
That's it. Just brush it off.
Yeah.
Any of that colour, it's the smoke. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So what did you end up doing? Did you have to cook some more, or was it asking mum and dad for a takeaway?
Luckily, none of it wasn't too much of the food that was gone, so we were still able to share it between the family with some bread and stuff.
Nice. So we always like to offer our own fails as well, because it's only fair if we are asking a guest about fails that we offer something up. And I don't know about Owen, but I've got a whole back catalogue of things that I've done and done quite badly. And the other day I tried to be clever and tried to do a bit of an experiment, shall we say. So I've recently been doing a few kind of different skewer kebabs and everything, and I've done some koftas recently. And what I tried to do was kind of 3 skewers together and then koftas running left to right across and spiced differently. So 1, 2. Spent ages doing it, put them in the fridge to help them firm up and everything. And also stupidly put all of the ones I'd done on at the same time. Completely forgot to like put any oil down, completely forgot to sort everything. So not only did they stick, but as I tried to lift them, they just stuck to the grill and all the skewers came out. And you would have thought the first thing that I lifted would have taught me this lesson, but I pulled it out. I was like, oh no, okay, I'll try the next ones. No, I'll try that. And now I have no food. Well, I have food, but I can no longer call them kebabs or koftas. So kind of an emergency flip, and they were edible, but were they what they were meant to be? No, not at all. So doing something like that, always oil the meat or oil the grills. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, when I say recently, you're talking 4 days ago. So still learning.
I have done something like that before. I was doing some meat skewers out of one of Marcus's books. And so where I'd wrapped the beef around the skewer, I hadn't wrapped it correctly. So when I went to turn the skewer, all the meat had just stuck to the actual grill.
Yeah.
So I then had to go and get a spatula to be able to turn it.
See, this is the thing. What I should have done is slightly tried and then used a spatula to help myself be able to move it around. But I just didn't think. I was on autopilot. Just bang, bang, bang. Well, that's that day ruined, isn't it? But we live and learn, don't we? We live and learn. Have you had anything? Have you had anything at all recently, Owen?
Yes, I cooked some pork belly the other day. I got some pork belly out to do some burnt ends. Didn't have the time to do it, so I just spiced up some pork belly and just did some different flavors. And I was sorting the kids out for bedtime and forgotten about one of them. And I left it fat side down. And as I went back out into the garden, there was a lot of smoke and there was a quite crispy black piece. Obviously that didn't make the Instagram post that I did a couple of days ago. The rest of them were fine. I just left one too much on the coals, and I think I stank out the gardens and smogged up everyone else's washing lines.
Yeah. I don't think that would stop me from eating it though.
Oh no, I cut the skin off, Alfie, and then just carried on with the rest of the meat.
I'm not sure I'd cut the skin off either though.
No, that's character, right? That's character building.
Yeah.
Great. So obviously you've talked about your kind of journey so far and what your setup is, your favorite cooks. What do you think? Obviously you've achieved a lot in that first year. What's next for you, Alfie? Where do you kind of want to take this barbecue journey?
So with me, I've learned not to try and plan ahead. But I think one thing I do want to do in the far future is at least try to get on a TV show to be able to show that it's not just adults that can achieve things with cooking and barbecuing, and just to show that people even my age can go far places by doing something that not many people know much about.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic attitude to have as well. And you're quite right. I think we've spoken in the first series that I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and we've bought her a barbecue for Christmas and trying to get her into barbecuing. And exactly what you've just said about showing that it doesn't have to be just adults that cook. And it's a life skill, isn't it? To learn how to cook, but also in England, barbecuing is not necessarily a pastime that people do. And I think it needs people to actually start young and really, really go for it.
It's like the barbecue community itself on Instagram feels big once you're part of it, and there's a lot to see and a lot to learn. But when you actually compare that to the amount of adults in the UK, it is tiny. And it has been nice to see over the last kind of year or so that open up and see lots of different things happening. But as we're able to go out more and more, and all the barbecue kind of events and festivals and things like Smoke and Fire Festival that's happening in Colchester coming up towards the end of August, it would be great to actually see those things in person and actually be able to reach out and speak to people. Are you planning on going to any events or hoping to, Alfie?
So in September, there's the Sizzle Fest.
Yeah.
On I think the 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So me, my mum and dad are going to be going to that. And then my brother's going to stay with my grandma's. And we're going to plan to spend the whole day there.
Great. We're looking at going too.
Yeah, we would like
so
to get
that
down
then
there.
I can meet some more of the people that actually barbecue. As I haven't actually been able to meet too many people that I know that barbecue.
Yeah.
A couple of my friends, they have the occasional cook on a disposable barbecue. But no matter how much I tell them that getting a proper barbecue will be so much better and will be cheaper in the long run, then keep on buying these disposable barbecues, none of them will listen. But they don't realise how nice it is to have proper barbecue food, as they've never had it.
That could be your TV show, Alfie.
Yeah.
You're just teaching your friends, teaching people your age. That could be your show.
Oh, I've got it. You can even call it GCSE bite size. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that, right?
I'm sure BBC have done that.
You're completely right about being able to go out and meet more people who barbecue. One of the reasons that we started doing this is because we just wanted to talk about barbecue and talk to different people about barbecue. So being able to actually go out and see people is going to make so much of a difference to what we're doing. And you can learn much more in person and actually talking about it, which hopefully more people will be going out to all these different shows that are popping up across the UK over the next 3, 6, 9 months or so.
Yeah. So my plan is, as long as we can, I will be able to keep on going to these festivals and things. And for somewhere in the future, this year, I'll be going back up to Country Wood Smoke, and we'll be going to his barbecue school.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just launched that.
Yeah, and he's invited me to go.
Fantastic. I'm very jealous, very jealous. I mean, it would be a long drive for me, but I would love to get down there.
It's still about an hour away from where I live. But I went there before any of the buildings were even built.
Wow.
I went there when it was only the concrete laid down. And when you look at it now from what it used to look like, it has completely changed.
Yeah.
I would have never have thought that it would look this good when I had arrived, when it was just concrete.
I watched one of his Instagram lives the other morning when he was setting up and he was talking through kind of the prep that he does before kind of some of the classes and cooks. And he just kind of paused and kind of said, look what I'm looking at, and turned around. You had the river running past. It was absolutely gorgeous. There was like ducklings and stuff. So not only is the setup beautiful, but where it actually is kind of idyllic, which is not fair considering how far away it is.
Yeah, because when I went there, I found that he was based directly on a farm and a farm shop. So he had a plot which was right next to the river with all ducks and things. and close by there was pigs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go there, you'll be able to look in the farm shop, and you'll also be able to look at all these different animals.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think too many people get the experience to be able to have a look at how some farms are actually run.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm quite lucky and I'm able to see, as I'm surrounded by fields. I live in the middle of nowhere, which also helps with the barbecue. As where I live, there's only about 16 houses,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have to worry about the amount of smoke as much.
Mm. I don't care. I just smoke everyone out. I haven't made any enemies yet, but you know, there probably will be a time.
As long as you keep them up on the barbecue food, I think you'll be all good.
Nah, it's all for
definitely.
me. All for me.
So one of the things we like to do, Alfie, is barbecue bingo. So we like to set our guests a challenge. So we've got a load of ingredients on a wheel. We'll spin that wheel, and it will be great, whatever that lands on. If you wouldn't mind giving that a go. Some of them are obscure. Some of them are just run-of-the-mill stuff that you could cook every day. And it'd be great for you to then post them on social media. Use the hashtag barbecue bingo. And we'll reshare that through our social media and our website and things like that. So what I'd like to do now is just share my screen so I can show you the wheel and then give it a spin. So can you see the wheel?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that we like to put on there is your signature dish. So your favorite dish. Now, would it be fair to say that would be smash burgers?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So if it lands on your signature dish, then that could be smash burgers.
Okay.
All right.
Is there
Okay.
anything there which either you've never done before or you think might cause a little bit of planning beforehand?
Most of the things there, I've either cooked inside with my mum or have cooked with outside. I think the only thing would probably be the peanut butter.
You're not allergic to peanuts, are you?
Directly, yes, but that was when I was about 4, and we've never tried it ever since.
Let's take that off.
But my brothers, my dad and my sister absolutely love it.
Well, I think for safety reasons, we'll take that off. I tell you what, let's put jam instead. Jam and peanut butter. So we'll take the peanut butter out. You happy with that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to give this a spin and let's see what it lands on.
Ooh.
So we have a baked cheesecake.
That might be a little easier, as my dad has cooked one on the barbecue before.
Great.
So I'll be able to have a bit of help with that. But that would be a good experience, as I've never cooked a cheesecake.
I haven't either. So yeah, that'll be interesting. What flavour do you reckon you'll go for?
Probably something like strawberry.
Oh, nice.
Good choice. Good choice. Great. So baked cheesecake is your barbecue bingo challenge. I'm going to stop sharing the screen.
Coming up to kind of the end of the podcast now, one of the things that we always like to ask people, and we did it through the first series, is if you have any questions for us, or if there's any topics that you just like to talk about that maybe aren't talked about that much in the community. So in the past, some of the questions we've had, for example, are kind of how we got into cooking, what our dream cooks are, what our dream barbecues are. But we'd love to hear from you. Is there something you want to talk about or would like to ask us?
My main thing is what is your favorite style of barbecuing?
Good question.
Because there are so many different types, and I think not everyone gets to explore the different types.
Mm-hmm.
You go first, Dan.
Okay, so talking about kind of different styles, I would say I love low and slow cooks. I find them really enjoyable because, to me, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of skill in barbecuing most things, particularly if you want to make them kind of perfect and we're all chasing that perfection. But there's something about a low and slow American style cook that feels a bit like wizardry, particularly when you, for example, the beef short ribs, Jacob's Ladder, that you were talking about. I did one of those a few months ago and it blew my mind. I've got another set in the freezer ready for me to do again soon. But when you take that piece of meat out and you look at it and you kind of decide what rubs you want to do when you're leaving it overnight and you look at the temps and everything, as you said, it completely transforms not only kind of the look, the smell, just it's for me, that's the most exciting thing about barbecuing. And as you said, kind of looking's not cooking. You can put something in that you've worked on for over 24 hours of marinating, stick it in, let the smoke do its job. 5 or 6 hours later, you're going to open it up to wrap it, and you would not think that is the same piece of meat you put in. And the flavor profiles that you get compared to any other type of cooking are just remarkable. So that's my favorite style personally. And I need to experiment more with different woods. I'm guilty of the fact that I've got access to a lot of free oak. So most of my smoking happens with the free oak I've got, because I think, well, why should I go out and buy other woods? But I mean, I haven't even tried cherry, and every single person we've spoken to is like, do cherry wood, it'll change you. So that's kind of next on my list of things to do, but definitely American slow style is my favorite.
I have to agree that low and slow is probably my favorite, although I want to try and say something different, just for the sake of saying something different.
Your fault for asking me to go first.
True. But low and slow is a particular favorite. Purely, I like to use it as a way to unwind from the work and all that kind of stuff. And I just think because you take yourself away from anything else, you concentrate on that that piece of meat, the long cooks. But just for the sake of saying something else, I actually still really enjoy a classic British barbecue. You know, there's nothing better than just cooking some high quality burgers and sausages, kebabs. When they're done well and they're homemade, there's some, you have some pretty decent results.
Just to kind of add to the question, I think what Owen and I are most probably excited about, and to go back to the fire cage, is more of the open fire cooking, because neither of us really have any sort of experience in that. So although low and slow is my favorite, the thing that excites me the most, and I'd most likely watch lots and lots of videos about, and I'd love to see it in action, I'd love to give it a go, would be open fire cooking. It feels like another level above in regards to the skills and technique that you need to have to pull it off. And the food's going to taste that much different because of that, if you can nail it.
Yeah. When I found, we did have to use a much different technique, and there was a lot more skill involved, as unlike the smoking and things, I actually had to be out there every second of it, making sure that nothing happened that would affect the meat.
Yeah.
What's your favorite, Alfie?
That's a tough one, as I've done many different styles, but I think one of my most favorite is either the plancha cooking or low and slow.
Mm-hmm.
Good choices.
I am obsessed with my plancha. Since I've had it, I've mentioned it pretty much every episode since I've had it, and I absolutely love it for quick cooks. But it is something about just unwrapping a piece of meat after it's rested, after you've smoked it for ages, that just blows my mind every time, for me personally. If the open fire cooking is quite exciting for you and a bit different, I know you've experimented a bit with it, and you get the chance, I would recommend looking back at the episode we did with Culinary Demons and Jürgen, because he talks quite a lot about the fire cages and cooking with it. And I know it kind of blew both of mine and Owen's minds talking to him and just having that level of skill. So that's one tip I would say. If you're interested in looking at that more, that's somewhere to start.
Yeah, I'll probably have a look at that in the next couple of days.
Nice.
Great, Alfie. Well, I think that's it for the episode, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And perhaps we get to see you at the Sizzle Fest in September, and just keep doing what you're doing. It's really enjoyable looking at your social media accounts and what you're achieving.
Thank you. It's been really lovely to come on and be able to speak to you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Alfie.
Well, that's it for the second episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue Podcast Season 2. It was an absolute pleasure to have Alfie on the show. I think we can all agree that, you know, he's got a bright future ahead, being only 12, and the amount of experience he's already amassed over the last year or so. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. And fingers crossed he gets his dream of having his own TV show or being on TV promoting barbecue. I think that will do the barbecue community a great load of good. So you can check out his Instagram, Alfiekbbqs. And also you can find our barbecue accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Meet and Greet Barbecue Podcast. Our website is meetgreetbarbecuepodcast.com. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We will have more content coming up outside of the podcast with other videos. So subscribe and keep in the loop. Also, a big thank you to our sponsor for Season 2, which is the Smoke and Fire Festival in the UK. So that is on the 20th to the 22nd of August, a weekend of barbecue, eating challenges, British Open barbecue championships, family fun and music. Colchester Castle Park. Get your tickets, smokeandfirefestival.com/tickets. Until next episode, keep on grilling.